The final for the UEFA Nations League is set. What's up, I'm Adrian and this is a recap and reaction to the semi-finals of the UEFA Nations League. And by the way, thank you to our sponsors over at OneFootball. If you want to keep up to date with everything Nations League, then be sure to use the free download link in the description for their app for either Android or iOS with live tickers, news articles, stats, highlights, and so much more. Okay, so Portugal versus Switzerland. This one was cagey at times, though there were thankfully opportunities going to both sides, though namely to Switzerland, as they started extremely well in this match, and I'd say were maybe even the better team after the first half was up. But before it was said and done, there was a few tackles that could have been given as reds, and of course, in the 24th minute, Ronaldo collided with Kevin Mbabu and Fabian Schär, and the referee awarded a free kick. Now, from the first angle, it looked like a bad foul. Then the angle from the opposite side of the pitch shows that Mbabu got the ball first. There was some saying that the referee could have given this due to Schär's stamp on Ronaldo's foot, as you can also see here. I don't think that that's what the referee was giving it for personally, but anyway, this one was extremely divisive on Reddit and Twitter. What do you guys think? For me, if we're judging strictly on Mbabu's challenge, I don't like to see that given as a free kick. I personally don't mind a hard, fair tackle. But Ronaldo's free kick was extremely well taken. He's good for about one per year these days, as it was almost exactly 1 year ago that he scored that incredible free kick against Spain in the World Cup. He also scored a hat-trick in that match. Portugal's goal was against the run of play, however, as Switzerland had numerous close calls throughout the first half. Shaqiri, a few from Seferovic. Portugal didn't create much in the way of opportunities, or at least dangerous ones. I mean, one of Portugal's most dangerous opportunities prior to Ronaldo's free kick was from a giveaway by Manuel Akanji that Ronaldo himself ended up just pulling wide. And even after Portugal's goal, the Swiss continued to dominate in the dangerous chances department, with Shaqiri and Seferovic coming close. Seferovic, in fact, could and perhaps should have had a couple of goals in the first half, but he would either just miss or hit the bar. Portugal had a very good opportunity when João Felix, on his debut, was played in behind by Cristiano Ronaldo, and Rodriguez, I believe it was, just tugged him back on his shoulder to put him off and cause him to sky it. Unlucky there, but to be honest, it was an extremely tough first half for the kid, making his national team debut next to the dude who he said earlier this week was a hero of his, that used to play with him in FIFA. So you can forgive him of being a little shaky, just as you could maybe forgive Bruno Fernandes for taking a while to come into the game as well, as his experience in the national setup is limited as well. For Switzerland, as alluded to, the first half was all about Seferovic, Xhaka, and I'd say Mbabu as well, who looked very dangerous down the right flank, with some great interplay between himself and Zakaria. As expected, Switzerland looked extremely solid in the defense with their backline of Mbabu, Schär, Akanji, and Ricardo Rodriguez, so it made things very difficult for the Portugal attack. And in the second half, let's move things along here, the Swiss were given a penalty for the most insignificant of touches. Made all the more sour for the Portuguese, as the reason why the referee was able to go review the penalty is because, that's right, a penalty for Portugal. Now, was it clear and obvious? No. Therefore, I don't think it should have been a penalty. It was one of the longest VAR review times I've experienced, and it was given for this. I mean, Semedo knew nothing about it, and there was a touch, an extremely light touch, so I guess technically you could see it given as a penalty, but it was so light. But, I mean, you're asking the wrong dude here. What do you guys think? Penalty, not a penalty? Let me know. That's my take on it. You know, the VAR, they make it so clear that you need that clear and obvious mistake. Was that a clear and obvious mistake? I ask you. So what a wild few minutes it was, with an extremely contentious penalty given at one end and a blatantly obvious penalty stolen from the other end. But that's just the way it goes. Might I just remind you, this referee was sent away from the 2018 World Cup because he didn't employ VAR properly and refused to review a play during Switzerland versus Serbia. A play that favored the Swiss, by the way. Remember when Mitrovic was wrestled to the ground by Lichtsteiner and someone else, I can't remember who, Xhaka maybe? Same ref, interesting. All right, time to put my tinfoil hat away for the moment. But again, thankfully, none of this would really matter in the end. Following this, after João Felix got leveled by Schär, he was subbed off for Gonçalo Guedes. His first two passes were brutal and went straight out of play. He didn't play great, so I'm not sure if he was much of an upgrade. Was hoping to see Rafa, but I'm biased in that regard, of course. Or, I mean, at least Jota. It would have been nice to see Jota get out there. But in a semi-final, I can understand why he would go with what he knows in playing Gedge instead. And the longer the match went on, the more secured you felt in thinking it would go to extra time. Things slowed down. The game got extremely narrow. Until the 87th minute, when Bernardo Silva finally emerged from the shadows to play a perfectly executed cutback to Cristiano Ronaldo, and his slightly deflected strike beat Jan Sommer, you just knew he'd finish that off. That prompted a change for Switzerland as Ayeti was brought on for some attacking firepower, but it was only Ronaldo who would be remembered in this game. Forget the divisive free kick call, forget the contentious penalty and the use of VAR. Ronaldo turned the conversation and the focus of the match on himself. Once you saw Ronaldo 1v1 against Akanji on the left side of the 18, verging on a hat-trick, you knew he was getting that hat-trick, and you knew that it would be from cutting inside and hitting it on his favorite right, and that's exactly what he did. An inverted Le Cut Inside Man goal. A tribute to Arjen Robben. So 3-1 Portugal, a hat-trick for Cristiano Ronaldo, and it was just game management time for them after that. Now, it must be said, the scoreline, or rather Cristiano Ronaldo, perhaps hides what wasn't the greatest performance from Portugal. They were just good enough to stick with Switzerland play for play throughout the match, and ultimately it's Ronaldo that lifts Portugal up and over with his quality in finishing, something that, on this night, Seferovic and the rest of the Swiss severely lacked. I mean, at times that Portuguese defense looked a little bit shaky. For me, it seems like Portugal still don't really know what their system is, especially in the attack. They went from wide to extremely narrow. Bernardo went from the middle to the right and back again. Bruno Fernandes looked lost most of the match, as did João Felix. And William looked split from staying central to pushing to the left. It was all very confusing to watch, and it looked like it was a little confusing for the players to pull it off as well. Sorry guys, my allergies are killing me. But another Ronaldo performance saves Portugal as he takes his international tally up to 88 and scores his 53rd career hat-trick, his 7th for Portugal. So, two things people will be thinking after this regarding the performances of the two teams. This could have been very different if Switzerland had taken a couple of their chances, and Portugal has a killer in Ronaldo, but their coach should be getting way better performances out of this group of players. Perhaps he can't get good performances out of his attackers because he doesn't know how to play attacking football effectively. It's not really his style. And it shows with our attack looking disorganized and lacking ideas. All right, in the other semi, England faced off against the Netherlands. Wow, and just like that, you would never have guessed that a full 24 hours had passed. So in this one, the early minutes were short spells of possession and then counterattacks. The Dutch fullbacks in Blind and Dumfries both looked to be there for the taking of England's wingers, whereas England's weak point looked to be their midfield of Fabian Delph, Declan Rice, and Ross Barkley. But we'd soon find out where their true weak point was. Jadon Sancho looked to be the most dangerous between himself, Sterling, and Rashford in the England attack, as he was a big contributor to making Dumfries' day very difficult. Depay had a couple of opportunities to cause some trouble for England's backline, but he just made the wrong choice on each occasion. But behind him in the midfield, I thought that Frankie de Jong was extremely tidy, though De Roon and Wijnaldum were also decent. But de Jong was reading the English well and breaking up the play, then not overcomplicating things on the ball. The more I see of him, the more I like him. Now, if yesterday's penalty was debatable, there was no debate about the penalty that England was awarded in the 30th minute. De Ligt made a mistake which gifted possession to Rashford, forcing De Ligt into making a tackle he really didn't want to make and tripping him up for a yellow and a pen. I mean, with the form he was in at the end of the Premier League season, maybe just let Rashford have a go, you know? Who knows what that finish would have looked like, but his finish from the spot was great. Nerves of steel from him again. 1-0 England, and what followed was seemingly endless Dutch possession, but a difficulty in creating any sorts of chances thanks to Maguire, Stones, Chilwell, and Walker in the English back line. At least for now, until they start giving opportunities. But as expected, the English midfield was not great. I mean, I think it speaks to the Dutch midfield and how difficult it was for the center backs of Stones and Maguire to play the ball out from the back, something they did fairly well at the World Cup. But that particular territory was dominated by the Dutch. However, once the English got into the attacking areas, once they got past that midfield, the fullbacks looked vulnerable, as I mentioned earlier. And so the first half ended 1-0 England, but I don't think either of the teams would be very happy with their performances in that first half. And so with Rashford taking a knock and generally not having the greatest half, besides winning the penalty and converting it, he was subbed off for captain Harry Kane. England came out as the better side in the second, but Kyle Walker almost undid all of that when Depay was afforded an opportunity, but he hit it right at Pickford. And for much of the half, it would shape up with the Netherlands having possession and England looking to hit them on the counter, but the Dutch had to secure a goal, and their first step in trying to do so was bringing on both Van de Beek and Quincy Promes. And we got to see that trio of De Jong, Van de Beek, and Wijnaldum like I wanted in my preview. England made great changes as well, to be honest with you, bringing on Lingard and Henderson, which helped to give England a little bit more of the ball instead of just relying on counters. Now, in the 73rd, it was time for De Ligt to make up for his mistake earlier in the match as he headed past Pickford to make it 1-1. Great work from De Ligt to get away from Stones, who was caught staring at the ground, and what a threat he is from corners. You'll remember he did that against both Juventus and Spurs lately as well. Hang up a good ball for him and he's probably going to be able to lose his marker. However, you could see how that goal against England only went to hurt the Netherlands in the end. Not really, but as suddenly England were up for it in the attack, and in the 83rd minute, a great passing move from Kane and Sterling ended with Jesse Lingard finishing past Cillessen. But unfortunately for him and his somewhat cringe JL celebration, the goal was called off as he was just about an inch offside. Game of margins, man. That could have been it for the Dutch. So, we went to extra time, and in extra time, John Stones was caught basically doing the football equivalent of masturbation. And he got caught doing it by Depay, as Stones tried to pirouette his way out of the back for England. Massive mistake that Pickford saved him from initially, but he couldn't do anything about the rebound, and Promes just scooped it over the keeper to make it 2-1 Holland. An absolute gift. And the Dutch continued with the pressure as Depay again came close, but ultimately headed directly at Pickford. In the second half of extra time, we got to see some beautiful passing from the Dutch, playing their way out of dangerous situations, passing circles around the English at times, but they had to stay wary of the attack, especially down their own right flank, as England continued to build most of their attacks down their own left and Holland's right, exploiting Dumfries as often as they could. Perhaps I should have worried more about England's back line and the kind of damage they could do to themselves than the fullbacks of Holland. I guess Ross Barkley isn't a part of the back line, but in passing it around the back, when it came to him, he gave it straight to Memphis Depay, and Depay's layoff to Promes made it 3-1, and just like that, it was God Save the King in the stands. Monarchy jokes. Hell yeah. So the Netherlands go through to face Portugal in the final in Porto, while England will face Switzerland for third place, which, that's got to be one of the most pointless matches ever. I think the story arc of De Ligt redeeming himself was nice to watch, as nice as it was to watch Jaime Lannister's redemption arc before the writers massacred my boy. But yeah, De Ligt was strong, made some important tackles, and won some important aerial duels, while all in all, I think my man of the match was Frankie de Jong. Special mention to Depay, who was always there or thereabouts with the Dutch goals. Also, my fear of the Dutch struggling without a true striker were a bit unfounded, I guess, though they definitely needed help from the English for their second and third goals. Two absolute gifts that, had England not been so foolish, they could have attempted to make it 2 shootout victories in a row, maybe. Anyways, that's it for this video. I'll have a preview out for the final soon, and I guess for the third place match. Other than that, my name is Adrian. Thanks for taking your time to watch this video. I love ya, and we'll see you soon. Peace.